We're live. Let's get it.
Yay.
Everybody that's going to join in, we're about to have a fire show. Super excited tonight. Hopefully, everybody gets a lot of good gems in here. I put stories and lessons. You might get a little bit of both.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Masterpiece going to put y'all on game.
Let's start a watch party.
Yeah, so when you do it, share it. Don't even do it a watch party too.
Okay.
Yeah, just do it as a post. Because sometimes, like when you do it as a watch party, like if somebody writes a comment, I won't be able to see it for some reason.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, because you might get some questions too. I know you got some fans out there.
Okay, let's see. I want to share it. It's telling me to. Wait a minute.
So if y'all tuning in too, also already make sure y'all share it on y'all timeline just in case y'all got any questions or any of y'all people got any questions.
That's right.
We have a great show. You got it.
I'm trying. For some reason, it's not.
It says 4 shares, 5 shares.
It's not letting me share it on my. It's like I can only share it to a group.
Huh.
Okay. It's much easier if I do it from my phone. If I do it from my phone,
okay.
It
might be. If you're linked with your personal page, you probably can do it with your phone. Again, y'all, we're about to have a fire show. Once we get everything set up, I'm telling y'all, this is about to be super dope. I'm gonna be having an extremely talented guest tonight. So again, y'all tune in. Make sure y'all keep enjoying and following the Power Level Podcast. This podcast is all about empowering you, empowering your journey. It's also all about the psychological facts, and it's all about the mind too. So I love to get great guests on that I know that has an awesome story. And this person right here too, I've been following for a while. So let's get it, Queen.
What up? What up, good?
A psychological podcast with a culture twist. Subscribe now and join me, your host, Malvin 9000, every Monday as we dive deep into the nature of power itself, the power of love, friendships, sex, money, anxiety, the truth, the lies, and everything in between. Let me, along with special guests, help you tap into the power.
They're still smiling. See, this black woman smiling is black girl magic. The way I unveil what's underneath, put me in a box, split it in two, and I still come out whole, smiling. Black women is an entire statue of vibranium. Skin is armor and army. Your skin is tough, like Maxine Waters, tough, like.
Hey, that was the queen right there. That was just a little snippet of what she does. We're going to get into it a little bit more. We have none other than Masterpiece, the international poet. Now, I got to make sure I put some respect on your name, too. Now, you are a 7-time award-winning performer now, too. This isn't someone that just started overnight and started writing poetry. She has been doing the work, and I've been following her for a long time. And one of the things I've been admiring about her and admiring about you is just your consistency. You make sure that you keep going, you keep writing, you make sure that you follow what is going on in the culture. And I noticed that you make sure you put it into your words and your work. So I really do love that. You have been featured on Good Morning America, or Good Morning Texas, All Deaf Poetry, Huffington Post, CNN, Teen Vogue. I mean, the list goes on. So you're definitely not new to this. You're true to this.
That's
and I
right.
want to make sure I put some respect on it, and people need to know. And also too, because I'm not even sure, of course we're talking about, the poetry, but you have so many other different things that you do as far as you being a designer. You're also an entrepreneur. So we're definitely going to get all into those different things. But first, how have you been holding up during this pandemic?
Man, it started off kind of rough, but I've actually just this is kind of like a blessing in disguise for me. So this has actually been pretty great. I've actually really learned a lot about myself as a writer, as a performer, as a mother, as a person, as a woman. So it's been very challenging, but overall, I've definitely been able to make, lemonade out of the lemons.
That's awesome. Because I know, I thank you for getting you on, because I already know you are a super busy woman, and you be moving and going. So I already know as soon as the pandemic dropped, of course it probably slowed you down a little bit, but I'm sure it helped you as far as, put yourself in a more of a creative space and really hone in as far as what you want to do. So I just kind of want to get started on. Also, again, everybody that's watching, y'all share. And also, if y'all do comment, we will be able to show your comments if y'all do have a question for Masterpiece tonight. And I'll be able to read them live. So I just want to start with your childhood. Of course, we see your success right now, but your childhood growing up, how was it like? And when did you know you had that spark of creativity in you?
My childhood was pretty cool, actually. My dad was a businessman. He stayed in business. He was always busy, always traveling, working day and night. My mom stayed at home. She had jobs every now and again. And so that is what I saw. I saw two people working extremely hard to provide for us. I grew up in the suburbs in North Dallas, which is in a small town called Plano. So it's, at that time, very racist. I went to an all-white school all the way up until I was probably in about middle school. And where I'm like the only Black person in the whole school. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that was very interesting. My parents are from Ghana, West Africa. So not only am I dealing with the dynamics of being in an all-white school, I'm also coming home to an African home. So it was the culture shock day in and day out was extremely difficult for me. And I was very insecure in a lot of ways. But my dad is the one who was very strict, very just gung-ho, you know what I'm saying? And so because of that, I really just kind of sheltered myself and held a lot of things in. And it wasn't until I read a book by Nikki Giovanni, and it was a book of poems. And, I was reading it and I was like, wow. I was listening to hip hop at the time, and I would love the stories that they would tell, but I didn't like how you had to do it to the beat. So I was like, I don't know how to do this, but I like what they're doing. And so when I read the book of poetry, I was like, oh, okay, so you can write what you're feeling, you know what I'm saying? And it doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to be to music or anything like that. So that absolutely changed my entire world, because now I was able to express myself. Everything that I had been bottling in started to just come out. And I read a lot of books. I read 2-3 books, sometimes a week. And so that really just allowed my mind and my creativity and my imagination to just run wild. So when I was I'd be writing and writing and writing. And that's how I just started writing poetry.
And that's awesome. So it definitely sounds like it was a way, pretty much to get some of that anguish off of you, to be able to have a mental escape. One of the things that I do like about your poetry too is, you don't put no fluff in it. It's straight real, straight raw. And I love it, especially me being a fan of just poetry and music and just the art of how to use words and put it together. It's not easy given something that's raw, but also something that's very creative, for like even the hip hop fan or someone that can be like, oh, whoa, now she's not just putting words together, she's putting words together, but they're also, making a huge statement. But the biggest thing too is your vulnerability in the poems. And one of the poems too that it has a lot of views on YouTube, and I'm not sure if a lot of people talk to you about this poem, but this poem definitely stood out to me. And you're saying some things in there that's very transparent, that's very real. So I want you to talk a little bit about it after we play it. But you're very familiar with this. This is called Slingshot.
Yeah. Slingshot, pulled it back and aimed for happiness. This poem is for anyone whose suffering didn't have enough elasticity to project their imperfections to a superhero version of themselves. I had meningitis when I was 9 months old. Left me with one ear.
How can I know if I'm beautiful if I've never heard it? Speech therapy had me so frustrated I never saw the purpose. Ex-husband thought I wasn't listening, so he beat me half deaf. I don't know, maybe he thought I'd be mute too. 34 years later, I taught myself sign language in the form of verses in prose. If I gotta talk loud, I'ma be powerful. Turn it into a gift so I have stage presence. And my message got reverb so you still hear me when I'm gone. I am the epitome of what happens when you pull me back, let go, I'll launch to my destiny. There's people who will come in your life just to break you. Well, maybe God already saw the pieces that you would take to rebuild yourself. You are stronger than you know. The irony is you never know it until something stronger than you shows up. In order to change, you must be willing to be uncomfortable.
Now, that is not the entire poem, too. Again, y'all got to make sure y'all subscribe to Masterpiece's YouTube to get everything. I can't give y'all all of it.
Right.
I have to give y'all some of it, just a little taste.
Masterpiece Poet.
So, Masterpiece Poet, y'all better make sure. All you got to do is search it. It's just that simple. Let me see here. Nara came in with the fire, said Peace always spits that fire. Of course, of course.
What up,
So
Nara?
really, so in that, you were talking about that you have, at 9 months old, you were diagnosed with meningitis, and as far as you losing an ear. So explain all that whole process of you going to speech therapy. Literally, like, how was that?
Oh God. That, first of all, that poem still makes me so emotional. Because for a long time, nobody knew I was deaf in my right ear.
Wow.
I would say probably up until I released the poem, I think maybe my inner circle knew.
Wow.
I would be around people and I'd have my hearing aid on, and then I'd be trying to like listen and hear, and they would have no clue. And the reason being is that I was diagnosed with meningitis when I was 9 months old, and so when you have meningitis, it's an infection that infects you so badly that you lose something, your senses somewhere. Some people come blind, some come deaf. So for me, because I was so young, I lost 90% of my hearing in my right ear. And so growing up, I had to go to speech therapy. I had to get taken from class and go to speech therapy. In speech therapy, that is where most of the, mentally, what do you challenge kids would be?
What I mean? The people that need more help.
Exactly. Yeah. Special needs kids. Right. And so therefore, a lot of my classmates would see me have to go and be in that classroom. And so I was made fun of because of that. And then not only that, so not only am I black as hell, not only am I thick, not only got this nappy hair, not only do I have braces, I'm wearing a hearing aid, and I'm going to speech therapy. So it was just overwhelming for me. So I just kept it a secret because I was made fun of day in and day out. And I had to do this speech therapy all the way up until I was in middle school. And it's funny and ironic how I've become this poet. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that is insane. Like,
you know what I mean? And a lot of times, a lot of people that do know, they forget that I do have a hearing impairment. And so I speak so well and deliver so well that you would never even know, and unless you're just around me. And I'm like, huh? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You on the bad side, buddy. You on the bad side. You on the side. And I laugh about it now, but that poem Slingshot, when I released it, I was terrified. Terrified. So that was my way of being extremely vulnerable and saying, hey, look, it's okay to have a disability. You know what I'm saying? And you can take that disability and you can flourish. You know what I mean? And when I did that, every single time I performed that poem, not only does it get me, it gets somebody. You know what I'm saying? And it's just such a powerful, powerful piece that, like, I think it's just one of those legacy pieces. You know what I'm saying? But every single time I perform it, it makes me emotional.
Yeah, and that's when I definitely see that too, and it's crazy again to hear the transformation, like all that you had to go through in order to get that point, and then even the vulnerability in that poem too, because not only that you're talking about meningitis, but you're also talking about when you were married. and how it was a struggle there. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm guessing that was a huge,
That
probably came up with some arguments.
That was extremely difficult
Mm.
because again, he didn't find out until
Wow.
just before we had gotten married. He had no clue. Again, I was terrified, but he was a narcissistic, abusive.
Mm.
So anytime you're dealing with somebody who's narcissistic, the image of perfection is what they like. And
Mhm.
so
Very true.
me having the disability made me imperfect. And so as the marriage progressed and he found out that I was having these issues, he was aggressive. You know, I don't like repeating myself. Like it just became aggressive. And so, it ended up, with the domestic violence situation, but we're cool now. You know what I'm saying? But at that time I was so vulnerable and so meek and so worn down. It was very, very, very difficult time to deal with somebody that you thought you would spend the rest of your life with, who was supposed to love you unconditionally through everything. You know what I'm saying? And here he is, the main person, talking about something that I can't control. You know what I'm saying? So it was very difficult.
It has to be extremely difficult. The fact that you still, was able to get out of that situation and put those words on paper. When did you get the idea as far as a slingshot though?
It was here in this house. My son has a yellow slingshot. It's on the cover of my CD called Slingshot. He has a yellow slingshot that was sitting on the floor. And he would always be playing with it and just throwing a little ball or whatever. And I was looking at it and I just was like, you know what? This would be a really good metaphor for, when you get pulled back, it just launches you forward. So that's when I started, I said, okay, well, let me see how I can navigate through this poem. And it became my anthem for everything that I have ever dealt with: racism, colorism, my disability, heartbreak, disappointment. Everything I had ever been through was me being pulled back and then launched forward. My poetry career, my fashion, everything it just catapulted. So that was the story of my life. Every time I would be brought down, I would be catapulted back up. So,
and I think that's an amazing too for you to say that and for other women to hear, because I'm sure other women probably do look at everything that you got going on, and wouldn't even imagine a time where they would feel like you were going through a vulnerable state, or they feel like maybe you were going through some of these different insecurities. They probably wouldn't even see that too. So it's a lot, and that's why, again, I like to get people like you on the show, because you're not just a pretty face. You have so much more depth behind you to share with others. And the fact that you're not only, you have that depth, but you're actually sharing it too. And that's that is one thing, getting out of it. But hearing the story it's a lot, because you sometimes, especially when you have been through, abuse, narcissistic abuse, you kind of get symptoms of PTSD too, even when you think about it,
What? Absolutely. And I think it's very important. I think what people don't realize is that everything you could ever know about me is in my poetry. From my first EP all the way up until my latest book, all the way up until even just me being on Twitter. Words are, if you ever want to get to know who I am, Masterpiece, and the woman behind that, all you have to do is listen to my poems. Every single thing I write is true. There's even the erotic poems, even the relationship poems, everything is a true story. You can listen to everything and you will have not one question about whether it's true or not, because everything is in my poems. And so I think it's very important as artists for us to be able to express ourselves and not be scared to do that. I tell poets that you don't know whose voice you're being for somebody. And so I had to realize that my voice, I'm speaking for somebody somewhere in the world. You know what I'm saying? So you have to get in the habit of being transparent and vulnerable with your art.
That's very real. That's very real. I'm going to read some of these comments here too. Eric Williams says, when I was 18 years old on a 4th grade level, I was also in special education, said, God is amazing. All of the things he had given me and the power to overcome. And he also did say, tell your story. Nara here, he says his disability was being short. He said, nah, he's just kidding. But he said, glad that you shared that poem. And he says, because of your testimony will forever touch someone that's out there.
Nice. Thank you.
Said, Queen Cole, she also says that's an actual anthem.
Wow.
And Eric, he also
amazing.
says too that that's what you call empowerment. You know, you putting everything in there again. You know, it's a tough thing too, because some people can think they know you, even though you put everything in there. You know, they still don't know you. You know what I mean? And that's tough because you're sharing so much of yourself too. And it's another poem that I actually put in here too. I wanted to talk about this one for a little bit because. And this one is actually another one that y'all make sure y'all subscribe to her YouTube now. She got some heat on YouTube.
Yeah, a lot on my YouTube. A lot.
But this is a different perspective actually too. So when I was listening to this, I was like, I didn't, you know, even me being a man, I didn't even really think about this perspective. But you have a poem called Girl Dad, and it's pretty much kind of touching on the hashtag that kind of went viral after Kobe Bryant had passed with his daughter Gianna. So I want to play a little snippet of this. Actually, I think this might be the whole thing. And again,
it's short. Yeah,
because it's very short too, but it's really good, and it definitely gave me another perspective that I didn't think about other women that had seen this. So,
okay. When news of legendary basketball player Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna passed, reporter produced a gut-wrenching story, sparked the term "Girl Dad" to be trending worldwide. For some of us, this is not a trend. This is the reminder of the trendsetter our fathers were in being absent, stoic, loving themselves, being the perfect masked man, masquerading his charm to paint the perfect picture. They say a picture says 1,000 words. If only you knew there were none. If only you knew it took me 36 years of my life for me to realize that me being a daddy's girl only meant that I was a pawn for his ego. There are women looking at this hashtag realizing what real love is. Some are realizing they've never even been loved. Some whose fathers were dead to them before everything crashed. I hurt. The only aisle my father would walk me down and give his blessings to as money transfers. I hurt. I've been running in circles, always getting back to square one, realizing the parallels between him and my ex-husband. I hurt because for many of us, this pain is the only man crushed Monday we acknowledge, crediting the women that they've crushed every Wednesday, wishing we could throw every Thursday back at him for being just a flash of a father on Fridays. I'm willing to bet that Kobe held his daughter in his arms, knowing that there was nothing he could do. But even in those last moments, she felt protected. For some of us, we would die just to know what that feels like.
That was a great fire poem, and so many things to break down into that poem. But I just want to start pretty much this because you did say earlier that your dad was very strict on you. Is that poem coming from your own perspective, or was you thinking about perspective of someone not having a father?
It was coming from my perspective, absolutely. Okay. Like I said, I write true to everything. So I did have daddy issues growing up. He worked a lot. Mm-hmm. And so he was gone a lot. So him and my mom had a lot of issues in their marriage, and a lot of issues that really trickled over into how I viewed men, and really affected and impacted my relationships with men. And he was, my dad was a Rolling Stone. You know what I'm saying?
Real, yeah.
Very, very strict. But I got my business sense from him, and there are just things that I wish that I could have had, with him, and not being so business oriented. It's like our relationship was a transaction. And there's a poem that I have called Daddy Issues, which is based off of bank transactions. So yeah, it was very transactional. It wasn't a very emotional or affectionate type of relationship. We didn't actually get that. I didn't actually get that from him until the last maybe 2 years of my life. So it was very difficult. So that's why, at the end, of the poem, I was, some of us, we've never even had a father to even deal with those things. And he was all about business, money, business. Every time he would call me, send me some money, so everything was very transactional. So I'm like, shoot, the only aisle that he gonna walk me down, you know what I'm saying? And so it was very difficult. I've gotten over my daddy issues, but that was a huge part of my life in loving myself.
Yeah, I mean that is huge. And again, we appreciate your transparency because even just posting it on YouTube, I tell everybody again to follow your YouTube because you are an international poet. You literally, if you wanted to, you can just only post your own stuff, on stage stuff, but you still actually, you get, there's a connection with the audience when you just sit there and just, read your poems, straight. You don't have to be on stage. It just shows that you're not just doing it, just for the glitz and glam and travel. No, you're doing it because someone else could be possibly going through this. And then also at the end of that poem, which was really big too, is, that's why I say there was such a different perspective because, it was a tragedy, but I guess you were almost saying too, that was somewhat of a beauty in that tragedy that they were together,
Yeah, because even if it was more so the perspective of, even in that moment, she was covered by him. And some of us we never felt that way.
That's real.
So even when they are dying together, in their blood, they are dying together. There are some of us who, if it takes dying to feel that close to our fathers, then maybe maybe I want to experience that type of love too, love and care too. So yeah, it's deep.
Yeah, that's real deep. That's real deep, but I love it. So what would you pretty much say is one of your biggest struggles? Because you got through a lot of different things.
Yes.
As far as even if it is just a struggle, as far as breaking into, in a sense, this industry.
There were a lot of challenges, but I think the biggest struggle for me with the poetry industry community or whatever have you, was being sexy, if you will.
Okay.
That was not like trying to be. It was just the fact that I think I kind of broke out at a time where in poetry, a woman that's dressed in sexy or doing, that type is mostly doing an erotic poem or using the sexiness to mask, the fact that she's not a good writer or, whatever the case may be as a distraction. It's like you couldn't have both. You couldn't be sexy and dope. You either were dope and you were, or you were sexy and you were, subpar. So it was me coming out being sexy and dope and a model, you know what I'm saying? And that was something that was kind of like, not saying that it hadn't been done before. It was just kind of like, who does she think she is? Exactly, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So being a woman and experiencing that, it was very challenging because you got the women who are feeling some type of way, and then you got the men whose egos are feeling some type of way. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's trying to get in the door. You know what I'm saying? And it was very challenging trying to break in. So what I would say to those who are trying to be in the poetry industry is just be true to yourself. And like you said, I just remained consistent. I didn't let any of that stuff get to me. I remained who I was. I loved to be fashionable. I stayed modeling. I stayed being who I was. So remain true to yourself. Be open to learning, but remain true to yourself and just, know that it's okay to be you. You know what I'm saying? The poetry community now, I absolutely love everybody. You know what I'm saying? And it's such a diverse community now. You know what I'm saying? That even if somebody's listening to it now, they'd probably be looking at me and be like, huh, what is she talking about? But back then when I came out, it wasn't the case. But now it's a loving community now. So
yeah, it's more open now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that is true. So it pretty much, in a sense, they would automatically stereotype you in some way.
Yeah.
But the whole thing about it is they couldn't do it you know, because the more you have the skills to back it up. And that was probably the whole thing too. Regardless of whatever they thought, you had the skills to back it up. So
there we go.
So they definitely have to respect that.
My style of writing was different too. I'm more of a lyricist. So when I first came out, my style of writing was different. And that was another thing that was probably, you know, again, stay true to yourself. So I kind of had to switch up my writing style a little bit just to kind of, you know, see, you know, not only that, but to grow, you know what I'm saying? But that was something that, you know, probably wasn't as receptive as it is now. Now most people know me as, you know, bar spitter, you know what I'm saying? But back then it was kind of like, what is this rhyme, hip hoppy type of thing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so what is your process when you start a poem? Like, is it just if something hits you, or do you have times where you just sit down, I'm going to write at this certain time?
It's funny you asked that. So there's two things that happen. One is I always come up with the title of a poem before I even write the poem. It's weird. Wow. And then the other thing that happens is, like yesterday, I posted something on my stories. Like yesterday, I'll have a word that sticks in my head. Something will stick in my head. And yesterday the word was steak. I don't know why, but it was steak. And it just once it keeps repeating in my head, I'm like, why does this word keep popping up in my head? And so I start processing the different ways that steak could be used. And this is where wordplay happens. This is where puns happen, because there's two meanings of steak. You have steaks and then you have the food steak, right? So then as I'm processing and this process is happening, I'm thinking, okay, what are the things around steaks? You know, like prime ribs and well done and rare. And I'm thinking of all those words surrounding it. And, you know, now I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, okay. I haven't even hit my prime yet, but I'm raising the stakes. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
To be a well done, delicately brined, and to be well done, delicately brined, is something that is a rare find. So that's how my process works. So these words start coming out at me, and I start processing these words around it, and I start trying to pick the words apart. Words are fun when you really start getting into the root of things, and that's why reading is so important. But yeah, the title comes, and then the words come, and then the wordplay happens, and then I start basing the message and the story around that.
Yeah, I love hearing the process of how people come up with different things too, because even when I would, do music in the past, like I could never like come up with the title first and then work around. I would always just have like the first couple bars, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna keep going with it. And then I kind of think, you know what, I want to go with this. But I did have a friend too who did R&B, and he would always come up with the title first. He would just see a title of a word, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna make a song about it. If one of our producer friends, if they actually had a title of a beat, he would make a challenge pretty much like, I'm going to just title it something random and see if he going to make a song, and he would always do it. So I love hearing the different processes.
Yeah. Obi West is really good at doing that. He's
I was
really
going to ask you, do you have anybody that you admire too?
Oh God. Obi is just, he's everything to me.
He's awesome.
So yeah, he's amazing. Him, Rudy Francisco, Sean Williams, Prentice Powell, Black Chakra, Ed Mabry, Georgia Me, Queen Sheba. There's a lot. I could go down the list, but those are the ones that pop up in my head, and the ones that I interact with the most.
That's good. That's good, because you got to have your
iron sharpens iron.
That's facts. That is facts. So again, everybody that's watching, make sure y'all share. And too, if y'all do have any questions, of course, I can put up the comments and read them. I also just kind of wanted to read some poetry and psych facts, because a lot of people would think poetry, they don't really understand how much thought and the process that kind of goes involved. Poetry, it triggers parts of the brain that's actually tied to the reward system, tied to emotions and memory. It actually strengthens overall cognitive health and encourages self-reflection. So that's a huge thing, and I'm pretty sure that, you know, especially once you get done with it too, how you kind of reflect on, you know, your life and just how everything kind of came up with the poem. And this is all pretty much from Psychology Today, if everybody wants to still look it up. Now it says one particular study about poems from Shakespeare and Wordsworth and others, and people pretty much asked them to read two forms of these two famous poets' poems, and the original version that had been rewritten for clarity, the more complicated versions of the poem actually created more dramatic responses in the brain language center. So it's just really amazing how poems can, you know, pretty much get your brain interactive and get them going, and how the messages, you know, play all the same. So before okay, I'm not sure he said letter trees. All right. But Bobby, you're gonna have to maybe understand that one. But I do want to play this too before I ask you this too, because this is a nice poem too. And again, this isn't the whole poem, but it is some, y'all. I keep saying it. Make sure y'all check Pastor Peace's YouTube out. She has some fire. But I like this poem because it's a little bit of everything in this poem. And I believe you titled this "Poetry Is."
Yeah, I love that piece. I love performing that.
I bust wisdom all over your back. I said,
Big poet.
hey, hey. I said, I'll deep throat your quotes and swallow your paragraphs. I'm gonna have you feeling like you're dreaming until your life gets jealous. See, poetry is that weed in your brownies and you ain't even know it feeling. It's that feeling when you arch your back and he enter from the back. It's that feeling when you black and you get pulled over but you make it home alive. It's that feeling when you white but your privilege got you Taylor Swift surprise. See, poetry is direct deposit. That's that tax refund, earned income credit, child tax credit. We got y'all feeling rich, so you spending your mind because you paying attention. See, this is an experience. I ain't talking Avatar in 3D. I'm talking 2009, my president is black. I'm talking Warsaw Shire's pen dipped in lemonade. Now we all in formation. See, we be them poets spitting that shit so deep, you gotta ask us to repeat it. Like your new life will cost you your old one. Like, you're too shallow to be this deep. Like, two wounded people can't share the same band-aid. I said, two wounded people can't share the same band-aid. See, poetry is sex. Yeah, I know, I can tell by the noises you're making. I must be giving it to you. I got that fly poet, that flow full of words, that Bayou City, that Texas Grand Slam, that individual word poetry slam, that women of the world poetry slam, that right about now I got the simile for stage, mic, paper, you name it, I spit fire that inhale the ashes, so say I blew your mind. See, poetry is, when I say these poems will fuck your word up, and he said, well, shit.
Hey, come on now. That poem right there is so crazy. I was trying to figure out where I want to stop it at because it was all so dope. Again, y'all make sure y'all check out. I mean, it's so much going on up there that a lot of people really just don't understand it. And the fact to hear that you are missing some of your hearing is insane, because when you're saying these poems, you have two parts of your brain going at the same time. You're thinking about the poem. You know, you make sure you're thinking about not just the poem, but you're also thinking about your delivery.
Yes.
That's two things. But then also you're doing one thing. That's why I say it's crazy about your ear, because you're doing one thing with the crowd too, because it's about timing too. Yeah. Timing is a huge thing. So you're interacting with the crowd and you're showing a different facial expression that you understand them, but in your mind, you're ready to snap back and go. And that takes so much talent. A lot of people can't do it, especially a lot of people can't do it with their eyes. So me and my brother talk about people that we're performing, how, you know, we'll say like this person like a rookie performer, because we see them, they might know their stuff, but they get up there and they just shut their eyes. But they don't understand how much the connection with the audience, when you're acknowledging them and engaging them, it takes so much strength, because you can't get lost in that, and you still have to be focused on the performance. So literally, people just don't understand the talent that you have to do all that. And I'm coming, you know, from a music standpoint, it's a little bit easier because I'm still on a rhythm. You know, I can once I hear the beat, it's back to rhythm, but you are creating your own rhythm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that is a whole totally different thing.
It really
Queen
is.
Coach
It's
is
it's
fire.
man. It is. It is. That is a skill that takes. It just takes performing time after time, time after time. The same poem. It's what we call internalizing a poem. So once you internalize a poem, it's there. It's stuck. You don't have to think about it. It just comes. I can wake up. I could not perform that poem for 5 years, but because it's internalized, I can wake up and you can ask me to do that piece and I'll be able to do it on the spot. You know what I mean? So when you know a poem like that, you can then be flexible to break out in the audience, come back, because you know it's instilled in you. You know what I'm saying? That piece I actually freestyled a couple bits in there. I shout it out, right about now. You know, so every time I go to a city, I'll do a little special element about that particular city, and I'll kind of freestyle, a little bit in there. So yeah, I love that poem because it's poetry, man. It's like the energy builder. You know what I'm saying?
It has to be fun to come up with all the different things that poetry is. Like, you just really, and you already know. I feel like, especially when you're coming up with certain things, it's like you know what the crowd is gonna just jump to. So I'm sure you love seeing it when you actually get on stage and it actually does happen. It's like, yeah, I got them now.
Yeah. So that's when delivery becomes important, because if I don't deliver it right, it ain't gonna land right, and they ain't gonna react how I want them to. So, but then as a experienced poet, you have to learn that when you don't get those reactions, you have to learn how to go right on right through it. You know what I mean? But
that's very true. That's very true. You have to just keep on and then take your notes, and that's awesome. Queen Coach, she said also, hopefully she can do something live. She didn't plan on doing anything live. She gave y'all some bars earlier. It's up to the queen. I don't know. Did you want to do something live? It's up to you.
What would they want to hear? Like, what kind of along the lines of what?
I guess anything that you want to get, and you don't even have to do the full poem. You can just give them a couple quick bars.
I'm so dope. They measure the poetry pH off of me. I'm the alkaline that balances everything out. It's levels to this stuff. I'm so dope. Every doctor in Cuba comes to me for the cure. I'm so dope. My adrenaline is packaged into Mexican beans, and they repackage it into Mexican beans because I get it jumping off. I'm the first thing in your cup. I'm Hail Mary, hashtag, and storms brewing. I'm so dope, I'm making the blackest nigga go white. I make the white and get a light go retract so we can go back and be black again, because I'm dope. I'm dope like crack. I put the coke in cocoa. Watch the man sniff my rocks and fall out, boy. I'm so dope. I'm so dope. Commas can't even separate my words. So they put a $sign in front of my name and call it a cash tag. Niggas sending me deposits but can't say I bagged that. I'm so dope, I parted the Red Sea and filtered everything out so everything is most zestfully clean. Infiltrated with bars heavier than a Biggie scheme on a Diddy team. I'm so dope, the best high I ever had was when I smoked me. I'm so dope like the glycerin glistening on the Jerry curl, fucking up Jerry's world in 96. Doper than the blood and Michael Irvin, swerving, curving niggas like I'm in a suburban in LA, dodging paparazzi. I'm so dope. Want to hear the rest of that poem? Go to YouTube.
Hold up, man. You gotta give you the ultimate compliment when you scrunch up your face like. Did you have to do the bars like that at the end? Oh my gosh, Queen! Like, y'all, she's dope. I mean, does she have to keep telling y'all she is dope? Like, she can do this all day in her sleep. I definitely appreciate you doing this interview. I do want you to say also too, because you have so much advice to give. Someone said to a couple bars that of course somebody said Bobby Word said, hey, she nice. Yeah, she dope for sure.
Thank you.
Queen Cole says so dope. So,
thank you.
Everybody that's listening, what is maybe just one quote or motto or just something that you live by that kind of keeps you going every day?
Wow. There's a lot. Legacy.
Hmm.
I do this for legacy.
Hmm.
I always say I don't want to be famous. I want to be legendary.
Wow.
So when people pass, the first thing we do is post what? We post quotes. We post things that they said. So words become immortal. And so I want my body of work to be something that is, studied and looked upon for years, even after I leave. I want to be alive even when I'm dead, So that is what I do everything for. I'm always, the thing that motivates me the most is when I'm gone, what is the world going to say about me? What is my impact on the world? And that's what drives me every single day to do what it is that I do. And so that's why I always hashtag, they'll get it one day. I always say that they'll get it one day. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to see it now. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what happens. All these legends that have passed, we don't appreciate them while they're here. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
And so I always, they'll get it one day. Like, they might not understand it now, but they'll get it one day. And so, yeah. So legacy is my biggest thing. That is what drives me. I would say.
Huge. That is huge. So, again, I appreciate you, taking out your time. Before we close, I did want to ask you some fun questions. Stressful questions. You didn't spit bars. You did everything for the crowd. We did went through some of your best poems. So I wanted to ask you just, because you're not just a poet, you're an international poet. You didn't travel to a lot of different places.
Yeah.
This is you right here in Aruba here.
Oh Lord, what picture you finna show? Aruba, yes,
this is
my
you in Aruba. Your gift has made you go so many different places. So which place is your favorite place that you have ever traveled to?
Wow. That brings back so many memories. I had such a good time. Okay, to be quite honest, I think going to Abu Dhabi was a milestone for me. To be a Black American woman poet, female poet, performing overseas in the Middle East. It was such a milestone for me.
Wow.
That was my I've made it moment, because they flew me out. My talent, they flew me out. I performed I didn't perform in just some hole in the wall. I performed at NYU. And after that show, not only is the culture amazing, but I got over there and received and was educated on such a different perspective. I had, my prejudgments on Middle Eastern, Islam. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I got there, it just opened my eyes to a whole new perspective.
Wow.
And it just gave me such a brand new appreciation for life and how they live over there. But the defining moment for me was when I finished performing. They were a little worried about my image, but it turns out, I know how to be classy when I need to. But
up on them.
Yeah, so I performed, and this little girl came up to me. She was 10 years old, and she was in tears, and she said, "I've never seen anything like this."
Wow.
She said that you were so powerful. You were so that she just went on and on and on. And I just bawling, because I'm like, how in the world can somebody, just little old me, little old poet from Dallas, Texas, go halfway across the world, you know what I'm saying, to a whole new way of life, new culture, new religion, everything, another language, everything. And they get me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I impacted that person. So that was probably the best moment of my entire life, career, everything, aside from having my son. But just poetry wise, that was probably my favorite place that I've been. I've been to a lot of great places, but
I mean, that is an awesome story for sure. And like you said, you probably never thought you'd be able to be sharing your gift in a place that you never even thought you would even visit before, like that, for free at that. You know what I'm saying? All offering your gift. That's huge.
It was amazing.
And you rock so many different stages, and you just mentioned him, but that's one of the other things that you rock at as far as motherhood. And you said earlier today that that you said the pandemic has, taught you, something about, motherhood. Or what is something that, that your son, what is a lesson that your son has taught you?
Woo! Patience, and that this gave me, I've been traveling so much in and out the country, sometimes 2-3 times a week, that I didn't get my son didn't get that consistent, constant love and attention from me. And so this pandemic really made me sit down and look at him and learn about him and be patient with him and educate him and homeschool him. And I learned so much about myself as a woman. And he taught me so much about prioritizing things. Because, I'm always on my phone or my laptop, I'm always working. But he taught me that, Mommy, that can wait. We're home all day, but come play with me. You know what I'm saying? And that moment was, for me, it was like, you know what? He's right. You know what I'm saying?
That's a big moment.
I'm so worried about doing this and X, Y, and Z and trying to respond to everybody so quickly. And I'm always just so busy and preoccupied. And, he was just like, Mommy, that's not him. It can wait. We're at home now, That's
major. And that's the power of being present.
Yeah. So he checked me on that. So my son is my best friend. That's my buddy, man. Like, the love that him and I have is unbreakable. It's something else.
That's awesome. So yeah, and I do see it too. Y'all always doing some fun things too. Like I said, I've been following y'all for a while, so I didn't see all the little adventures that y'all have had.
Yeah,
I've seen him write a funny letter. I wish I was able to find that. He wrote a funny letter to one of the teachers. It was so I didn't see it all. So I have to also ask you too before we close. Top 5 MCs, dead or alive. Doesn't have to be in any order.
Okay. Of course, I've got to go with Rakim, just because, it's one of my son's favorites too. I would have to say Black Thought. I would have to say Eminem had a huge impact on my life. What is that? 3? Okay.
Rakim, Black Thought, Eminem.
Man, this is hard, man, because I love so many artists. I really do. I'm a big Outkast fan, but I guess that doesn't count. Maybe 3 Stacks, I guess.
You can.
So, and then I'm probably gonna come back to this and be like, "What the fuck was you thinking?" Lord have mercy. Why am I going? Okay, I mean, obviously, Biggie. You know what I'm saying?
That's you did hit 5 now. So you got 3 Stacks, Biggie, Rakim, Eminem,
Black Thought,
and Black Thought.
Yeah. I'm probably just I'm probably gonna come back.
So many. It's so hard to pick 5.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I appreciate you taking that attempt. So one of my last questions here too, this is an interesting question. Now, we all seen you be Storm for a little bit. So I gotta ask you, what, if you have one thing, what would be your superpower?
I I would like to be able to know. I want to know who's gonna waste my time.
Ooh. Ladies, y'all heard that?
I would like to be able to have the superpower to know who's gonna waste my time.
Fellas, y'all heard that?
Yeah. I want to know who's going to waste my time. I'm tired of my time being wasted in this whole dating thing. So I would like to be able to see through that. I would like to be up. He gonna waste your time. Move on.
So you pretty much want to see the future then.
Right. I want to make sure he's serious about it. You know, he means business.
Okay. Hey, y'all heard that? Don't waste his queen time. So we done went through the whole interview again. I appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Masterpiece Poetry on my website, Masterpiece Poet across all social media, Masterpiece 83 on Twitter. Simple.
Awesome. Y'all can find her so many different places. And also, what else do you have going on and coming up? I believe you have the fitness. Is that the fitness line that you're okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I see you.
Yes. So I want to make it clear for everybody. I'm not a personal trainer. I'm a brand influencer. I'm a fitness influencer, which I motivate. My goal is to motivate people to live a healthy lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? And in doing so, you know, have some cool gear to rock out. You know what I'm saying? But during these times with the coronavirus and everything, I think it's super important for us to maintain a healthy lifestyle because while there's no vaccine yet, all we've got is our bodies and our minds and our spirit to fight whatever we need to fight daily, day in and day out. So it's important that we equip ourselves beyond the masks, beyond the gloves, beyond the hand sanitizer. When you go home at night and you take everything off, are you equipped to fight off everything that you came in contact with, not just the coronavirus? So I just want to motivate everybody to live healthy.
Health as well. So that's big. So y'all make sure y'all follow Masterpiece everywhere. Also get y'all in y'all fitness. And again, this has been the Power Level Podcast. I'm your host, Malvin 9000.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for freeing up your time and your schedule. And shout out to your son. I know he was ready to get some time with you. I know he cooling out now, so I know he's gonna be already after this.
Guy. Yeah. So but thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
No problem. And y'all make sure y'all follow me on all platforms, Malvin 9K and the Power Level Podcast. And if you missed this, live, we will have the audio for this coming out Monday morning. If you just want to hear it, go back and listen to it, go back and ride to it. And hopefully we can have you on again as a follow-up.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate your time so much.
Thank you.